Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our online class of computer science. So, today we'll be starting Java Revision Tour. That means this chapter basically deals with all the keywords, all the terms related to Java. First of all, let me tell you something about Java. What is Java? Java is a high level programming language which is developed by James Gosling. With Java, we can develop two different types of programs: standalone applications and internet applets. Java follow the paradigm that is object oriented programming. That means it has class as well as object. Java is a lightweight programming language, easy to understand and write. It is a case sensitive programming language. That means it differentiates between capital letter and small letter. It has a two different meaning. Java is a platform independent programming language. Follow WORA. That means write once, run anywhere. It does not depend on any platform. So these are the basic terms about Java. Initial name of Java was Oak, OAK. Okay. And the compiler of Java is JAVAC, JAVAC. So children, this was about Java. Now, when we write the Java programs, we need to compile first because high level language should be understood by machine only after the compilations. And after the machine process, it displays the information again back to high level language. That means there is a coordination between high level language and low level language. So here what happened? The code in which we write means the code which we write, that is known as source code, and the information which computer generate, that is object code. So the interaction between source code and object code, in middle of that multiple things goes on. First of all, what happened is source code what we write, that is compiled. Now that is compiled to byte code. Source code compiled to byte code. See here, source code is compiled to byte code. That means byte code is a machine understandable code. Machine easily understand that. And the byte code is interpreted. Then this byte code is further interpreted by JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. So what happens, see, first of all we wrote the program that is in source code. That program we compile by the compiler, that is JAVAC, and the code converted to byte code, that is machine understandable code. Machine understands, machine does not execute, it will give the code to the platform independent part. That's why Java is known as platform independent programming language. So bytecode will supply the code to JVM, but only after interpreted. Okay, that's why JVM, Java Virtual Machine, now it got the interpreted code. It will execute and display the final result to us as a object code. So this is the working method of Java. Okay, children. So source code compiled to byte code interpreted to JVM, JVM display the object code. Now this JVM, this compiler, this interpreter, these all are the tools which are required to execute, to run the Java programs. So these tools are stored as a package inside JDK, that is Java Development Kit. So children, first of all, few points about Java you should know. Secondly, what is bytecode you should know. Third, what is the use of JVM? It execute the interpreted code, okay, to supply the object code. JDK is a package which contains all the necessary tools like compiler, interpreter, JVM. These are stored inside the JDK, Java Development Kit. Is it clear, children? So See here the next topic, that is tokens. So let me tell you what is tokens. Tokens are each and every smallest individual unit used in a Java program. Whatever we use in a Java program, even we write comma or any alphabet or any number, that is known as tokens. So these tokens are categorized in 5 different parts. First I wrote is keyword. Now what is keyword? Keywords are inbuilt words with inbuilt meanings. If the keywords are written in a small letter, you have to remember and you have to write as a small letter only. You cannot change. Keyword has a meaning and that meaning is known to the compiler. So we are not allowed to change the keywords alphabetical sequence. So there are total 50 keywords in Java. So after keywords, next I wrote is variable. So after keywords, the next is variable or identifiers. Variables, as the name says, it can hold a different values. Means its values are not fixed. Okay, it can be changed. Same way identifier. They are used to name something like class P1. P1 is a variable of class. Int A. A is a variable of integer type. So variables are a container or identifier to identify something, like in case of class P1, that is identifier, is identifying the class name. But in case of int A, this variable is a container. It is used to contain some value. Okay, so variables and identifiers are also a part of tokens. So thirdly, you can see constant. Constant means the value fixed. Certain cases like 10, 20, 30 means any numbers. If I talk about 10, that means 10 means 10 only. It cannot be 8 or 9. So these are known as constant. Their values are fixed. Constant are also known as literals because it can be numbers, it can be alphabet also. If I say A, that means that is A only. In case of constant, okay. When I write comma, in case of constant, that is constant, comma only. It cannot turn to question mark and something else. So this literals or constant can be of integer type, can be of string, character, or any other data type. It can be. Okay. So fourth I wrote is operator. Now operators are what? They are the symbols. Now these symbols are used to operate on operand. There are some mathematical symbols, same symbols we use in Java also. Okay. But except to that, that is arithmetic operator. Except to that, we have relational and logical operator also. We can operate on text as well as. In maths, we don't operate in text. We operate only in numbers. But in Java or in any programming language, we operate on text as well as. So we have logical and relational operator also. Okay, children. So fifth part is separator. Now each line, okay, that is known as statement. So when we use semicolon, means that statement is terminated, that work is finished. So semicolon is what? Separator. We are separating one statement from another statement. It can be a bracket, it can be a comma, full stop, isn't it? Anything which separate one statement with another statement, they are known as separators. So children, tokens are what? They are the smallest individual unit used in a Java program. Each and every. How many types they are? 5 different types. What are they? Keywords, variable or identifiers, constant or literals, then operators, and finally separators. It's very important, you need to remember. Now see the next part is data type. Now data types, they are used to provide informations that what sort of value a variable will store. So variable means a name, identifier. But that identifier, what sort of values it will store? It will store a value that is number, alphabets, or any other type of values. So that information is given by data type. So these data types are categorized in 2 different parts: primitive, non-primitive. Primitive means inbuilt. They are by default. We are not creating that. They are keyword also. You cannot change the case. Whereas non-primitive are user defined. We gives, we decides. So first let us come to non-primitive part. Like class P1. As in the previous chapter I have told you, Class is an user defined data type. So that is non-primitive data type. We define the name of class. Same way there is an array also. Further will be coming in this chapter also. So array means so many elements can be stored and the name of array is given by us. That is user defines. So now let us come to the part of primitive. Primitive, as I told you, these are inbuilt, they are keywords. There are total 8 primitives available and each has certain different tasks. Like we have int for integer, byte for storing the byte values, short and long are the part of int only, short for less number and long for bigger numbers. Numbers in the sense number of digits. Float, the value with decimals, that means the value which contain point values. Double, it can store both integer as well as float. That means double basically we use whenever we use mathematical functions or we think that there is a division concept. If there is a division concept in a program or we are using a mathematical function, use double data types. Because probability of getting answer either in integer or in float is 50%. Anything can come. Okay, let us take one example. A divided by B. What is the answer? Depends on the value of A and value of B. If the value of A is say 4 and value of B is 2, 4 divided by 2, what is the answer? 2, that is integers. But if the value of A is 5 and value of B is 2, now what is the answer? 2.5. That means float. So here we will not take a data type either as float or as int. Instead we'll be taking as double. Whatever may come answer, whatever user may input, our data type is correct and it is ready to handle both values. So double. Char. Char is used to store a single letter, single individual letters or characters. But it should be enclosed inside single inverted comma. It can be number, it can be alphabet, it can be any symbols. But always inside a single inverted comma. And it is only used to store a single letter. Only one letter character it will store. That is char. Boolean, it can store either true or false value. Boolean is true or false. Default value of Boolean is false. So children, these are the 8 primitive data types and these 2 I wrote. More are there like interface we have. Even object is also known as data types. Okay, class, array, interface, structure, union, they all are the part of non-primitive data types. So children, except these 2, means except the primitive and non-primitive, we have one additional data type, that is derived data types. Derived data type is, you can say, it has some feature of primitive as well as some feature of non-primitive. Java support this one. That is known as string, but S should be capital in string. String, you have to use double inverted comma and can be used to store multiple character. Char only single character, but when group of character, any name is there, you can use double inverted comma or double quotation mark with string data type where S should be capital. So is this clear, children? What is data types? Type is 2, primitive, non-primitive. One additional is also there, that is string. Okay, so now next, that is typecasting. Typecasting is the process by which we can convert one primitive data type into another primitive data types. Certain cases like in programming, we get to know how to convert the data types. Means we can convert like integer to float or float to integers in between the primitive data types. Okay, that process is known as typecasting or type conversions. Now see children, I have written 2 types, implicit as well as explicit. The difference, implicit is internally, the compiler does itself. The conversion process compiler does itself. There is no user interaction required. But explicit means externally, user interaction is required. Compiler work is not there. Compiler does not do anything. User interaction is required. User need to convert the one primitive data type into another primitive data types. So see one example I am just showing you. Say suppose int a is equal to 10. This is of integer types. That means the data type is int, variable is a, operator uses equal to, and 10 is the constant. This is known as expression. So this part is known as what, children? Expression. Now in this expression, I need to convert integer to long type. So I can write like this: long b is equal to a. See, a was a variable with integer type which I am converting to long type. So when I am converting to long type, I am not writing anything additional from my side. Directly I wrote long b, means any variables, and the integer variable I am giving the value. That means I am assigning the values. So equal to is what? Assignment operator. We are assigning the values. Okay, so now when we are converting from int to long, we are not using anything from our side. Automatically the conversion process goes on, and this automatically conversion is known as implicit type casting. Here user interaction is not required. So children, understood what is implicit typecasting? Without the use of user interaction, compiler does the conversion by itself. So just opposite is here. In explicit, user interaction is required. Let us take one example again here. Say char a is equal to capital A and int b is equal to int a. So see here, this a was holding a character type variable. Character always inside single inverted comma. So capital A, it is storing capital A. Now this capital A, I'm just converting and storing as an integer type in variable B. So when I'm doing this process, see here I wrote what? In a bracket int I wrote. That means this part is missing from here. See here I didn't wrote, and here I need to write. Here compiler does automatically. User interaction not required. But here user interaction required. We need to mention there that we are trying to convert a variable which is of character type into a integer type. So children, you should know we can convert integer to character also, because they have the ASCII values. The ASCII values of capital A to capital Z is 65 to 90. And the ASCII values for small letter a to small letter z is 97 to 122. So we can convert also. So what will be the answer here? It's capital A, so the answer will be 65. So see here, we converted now, character is converted to integer. Here integer is converted to long. So conversions can be done between the primitive data types, but you cannot convert in non-primitives. Class you cannot convert to array, not possible. It is possible only for primitive data type. So understood children this one? Okay children, so see the next one. So children, see the next, that is wrapper class. So what exactly is a wrapper class? For every data type, they have their meanings. I explained, but how the compiler will come to know? So in compiler, they comes to know with the help of wrapper class, because wrapper class, they contain the meaning of all the data type used. Like see int, int in small letter, but that is a keywords. That is a wrapper class as integer, where I is capital again. Okay, that means the compiler will understand this one, integers, but we need to write this one. Same way for float, double, char. For char it is character, okay, C is capital. And for rest all the data type, you can see the first letter is capital in case of wrapper class. So this is data type, and this is their corresponding wrapper class. So wrapper class, they provide the meaning of primitive data types only for the primitives. Okay, that's why when we write the data types, their exact use, what sort of values it will store. Say if we are using int and by mistake if you give a decimal values, it will accept only the integer part. After decimal it will not check, because that function, that work is mentioned by wrapper class. Wrapper class, they have the communication link between the compilers, and they informs that this data type function is to store such and such values. So it's a very important part, okay, and it is applicable only for the primitive data type. You cannot have a wrapper class for non-primitive data types. It's very simple to remember also. See, the keywords, that's data types, all are of small letters, whereas the wrapper class all with expanded form and first letter is capital letter. Only for char it is character. Rest all the letters are same, like float is float only with F capital, double is double only with D capitals, boolean B capitals, short S capital, long L capital, and byte B capital. For int it is integer, and for char it is character. Only this point you need to remember. So children, so is this concept clear, that what is wrapper class and what is their functions and the examples of wrapper class? Question may comes, okay, write the wrapper class for char. You have to write character where C is capital. Clear? Okay.